Okay, now we're moving on to the fun part, which is putting on the drag chain and the cables. So we're almost there. You need this CNC part, which I believe is B21 and B23. And obviously, eventually we'll need the drag chain with all the wires, which is found in the same box that your heated bed came in. Okay, so inside B11 you should have two M515s. They will secure this guy. They go in there. And then this guy here, that is clips onto the upright. You'll need same thing, two M515 screws, which are found in B11. Okay, so here we've got the X gantry plate. This guy is going to be screwed on like that. See the two holes sticking through there. So what you want to do, put that one through there, put that guy through there, and from what I can see, these two holes here, I thought they were threaded, but they're not. So in the same bag, B11, there are two hex nuts. We will definitely be needing them. Okay, so you want to slide this guy through. It's just a pretty tight fit on these holes. So we're just going to screw this right hand side one on, just to get the screw through the hole. So there you go, you've got your two screws put in place. And you just want the hex nut on there, just like that. Same with the other one, and just tighten them up here. There we go. So that's all installed there. Now we're going to move over to. Okay, so here we have the drag chain mounted to the X carriage. There's two parts to the drag train. You've got the split room side that goes to the control box, so you don't want that side. The next side you've got is the extruder part. This is the part you want to mount. Now in the manual, it's a little confusing on how you mount this. I'm going to say it gets mounted on the top. So it sits like that, and then that gets mounted on just like that, using, I believe it's an M4 nut from the assembly, and I'm going to put it in the back hole. It's just so in that hole there. Put this guy. There we go, so that's all mounted there. Okay, so now we've got this part here. Now you want to take is the M4 10s and you want to put them through, well the first one, the one on the left, you want to put through with the T-nut on the other side. This one here, you want to, I think I'm going to use this top corner hole. Just get it and screw it through the drag train. Like that. And then you want to put the screws through the hole. And then you want to attach the T-nut to the other side. Like that. You want to line both T-nuts up so that they fit in like that. Get it all snug up against the plate, and then you want to tighten up the one that isn't touching the drag chain first, just to get it to hold it. Tighten up the one in the drag chain. There we go. Then this guy over here will get mounted. So you've got the X motor, you've got the Z limit, X limit end switch. So we want to grab another M4 nut. This guy gets mounted to the outside, so through the bottom center hole. You can see there. Just screw that all the way through the drag chain, and then to the outside of this mounting hole there's an M4 threaded hole. We'll get him screwed down nice and tight. Then these cables can get passed through. There's a little notch in the plate there, just like that. And then your drag chain fits up like that. Then the bottom, there should be two M4 nuts left, M4 screws with T-nuts. This bottom one here, now you want it to be in the same channel, so it's lined up straight. This last bit here, it's got to line up pretty much. It's just off the groove. So I'm going to put this in the far right hand corner hole, screw it all the way through. Get an M4 T-nut. Screw that on the back. Slide it in there. And then tighten the T-nut up. Make sure that it turns, which this one isn't. Okay, so next step we've got mounting the limit switches. In your packaging you've got 3 CNC mounts and B14, which is a whole bunch of M3 8s and M4 10s with T-nuts. Okay, so if you undo the cable ties on your drag chain cables, the bottom one has your Y-axis limit switch and your Z-axis limit switch. So we're going to install these onto the brackets. First thing we're going to need is the little M3 8s, and then you want to line up. Firstly you want to screw this M3, put it through the body, line up. There's a groove in the switch in the mount. Then you want to just screw it in so that sits nicely in the groove there, just like that. Don't tighten it too tight, it just needs to be held in place. Next one, there we go. Okay, now for each one of these you're going to want to put, from the limit switch side, put the screw through like that, an M410, and then you've got your T-nut that you want to put through, screw onto the back, and then repeat these for all 3, and then I'll show you how to put them on the frame. Okay, so firstly we're going to be mounting the Y axis limit switch. So we grab the one with the green label that says Y minus limit switch. Okay, now these are proximity limit switches, which means that whenever metal comes over the top of the chair, it sends off a signal saying that it should be stopped. Okay, and now what you want to do is you're going to mount it in this top groove here, and now we're just gonna mount it lightly, just to hold it in place, just like that. And now, if you slide the heated bed over, the bed plate, you'll see that as that part there, it's just over it now. The part just before the wheel, that's where it's going to trigger. So now you just want to lower your Z-axis just enough. It doesn't have to be all the way down, just probably to about a centimeter above the bed, and then you want to push the X-axis all the way to the end. Just so that your nozzle is lined up with the screw on the bed. And then you want to move the Y-axis so that it lines up just like that. So you got the nozzle of the extruder right over the top left hand or bottom left hand corner screw. Now we're going to go back to this Y-axis limit switch, and now you just want to loosen that off without moving the bed. You just want to loosen that off and then slowly push it so that it's a little bit tricky. You want to just push it so that just over half of the limit switch is now under the bed. Did you hear that? So just half the limit switch is under the bed. Then you want to tighten it in place so it doesn't move. Then you can move the bed forwards. Now the trick with these limit switches is that they trigger at just about a millimeter. So you want to raise it up so that it's probably about halfway in its travel. We'll try that. Then you just want to get down at eye level, have a look, and you want it to just, so that touches the limit switch, so we're going to lower it a bit. You want the bed to just go above it without touching it. So let's try that there. So I don't know if you can see that in the video, but there's barely any light. Just, so then obviously the wheel will stop. That should trigger perfectly fine. And it should trigger just above that bottom left hand screw on the board. So that's the Y limit switch done. We'll move to the X one now. Okay, so here we have the X axis gantry. You can move that across. Okay, so now we've got our X axis limit switch. I don't know if you can read that. Now you want to position it so that the top face here, so you're going to be putting it into the groove about there. Tighten that up. Just so it doesn't move, just like that. And now we're going to move the X gantry across, and that hits it, so it's too far out. We want to move it back slightly. You just want to make sure that it's perfectly perpendicular as well with the aluminium extrusion. When you turn the Allen key, it can generally knock it off. So that's pretty much a millimeter. We'll see when we test them. later. So there you can see the switch. It's going to trigger about there. Now if we leave that there and we move our X axis all the way back down, you should see that the extruder nozzle is about in line with that screw again. If it's not, mine's probably 2 or 3 millimeters slightly to the inside, but that's okay. If I really wanted to, I could move the end stop a little, but we'll adjust that later. Okay, so now we're going to mount the Z-axis end stop, which is the last end stop that we've got. And he will come in this side here. And this is the plate that it's going to detect, so you want to put him just in there. And you want to, so we're going to lower the X-axis just so it's pushing the plate down a little bit. And then you want to push the end stop pretty much right up against the plate. And then just drop it down a little. And there we go. So now that should trigger pretty much exactly where it is, and we'll be able to lower the bed so that's level with a bit of tension on the springs. And that's all the end stops mounted. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just tidy up these cables. You were given a whole bunch of these channel covers. We're going to use them to hide all these cables, especially the motor cables and the limit switch cables. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get this motor cable, which is labeled Y motor. We want to plug him in, just like that. And then what you want to do is, now that this is plugged in, we can take this label off. And what I like to do is just put it in about there, and we run it along. In fact, we're going to do it down the bottom here. So that's going to go in the bottom groove. And this Y-axis limit switch label, we can get rid of that as well. So he's going to go in there. Try and get it flat, just helps it stay in the groove a bit better. Now you want to take one of these and you want to measure it from about, just leave about half a centimeter from about a centimeter from the red aluminium here. And then you want to measure it to just in line with this M4 bolt in there, and then you want to cut it off. Then you want to take your wire, leaving a bit of slack in there because you don't want any tension on it. And you want to just slide that in there like that. Then the same thing, you want to cut, just leaving a little bit of gap up before the L bracket and a little bit of gap, so probably in line with the edge of the limit switch. And you want to cut it off about here. And then you want to feed some motor cable through there. Both cables in there now, the Y limit switch and the Y motor. They should fit in there. I'm going to push that down nice and firm. And now this side here, you just want to measure a little bit of gap from the L bracket all the way to about a centimeter away from the joint. And cut it off. And then you feed these wires along the inside of the extrusion. So you can see the wires are running through, they're all covered along the extrusions there. And then we'll probably put some wire wrap around the wire coming off there just to neaten it up. Okay, so we're going to do the same with the X-axis limit switch. This limit switch comes in here, so we're going to want to remove this tag. There we go. Then this limit switch wire can just run along the inside underneath here, which is fairly simple to do. So what we'll do is before we put the wire in like that, and just make sure it runs nice and straight in that gap. There we go. Here, clip in. And then you just want to leave it a little bit of a gap, probably just after the X motor mount plate, just so that it slots in nicely there. And you can see, can't see any wires, and that's what you want.